Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Ha, Rakakodash Mamath. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone and the elders. Double honors to my apostle and elder as well, Aharawan, Banyasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp here in Jacksonville, Florida. And salutations to the fellow Akim, Awavium, and Banyam children that believe in truth and sincerity. It's your brother Athanya Allah back to you with another lesson in your Haratazah is edifying. And it just struck a nerve. I had saw this clip of Tommy Hilfiger and his daughters. All right. While we under the curses, man, they live it up. All right. As this is their heaven pertaining to Esau, Edom. All right. Back in the 90s. All right. We what made, all right, the Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, what made this guy rich. All right. The celebrities, so on and so forth, man. The hip-hop industry, so on and so forth. All right, those jakes was wearing Tommy Hilfiger down. Everybody had on them that red, white, and blue. If you wasn't patriotic, you was subliminally patriotic then. All right, with the fashion. All right, and these are the same people who push, the fashion towards where we at today. All right, which is spiritually Sodom and Gomorrah. That's what the fashion industry has led to. Even now, I went recently into a store. It's a quick testimony. The new trend is crop tops for men, young shirts, so to speak. All right, now if you muscular or whatever, it looks just like a young shirt. All right, but we know what this is. This is how you have to be girded up with the spirit of truth, with the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai to not even to withstand the battle, but to even battle with this devil. All right, you have to know the ins and outs, the understanding of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, his will, to even battle this devil, man, spiritually. All right, you have to have the whole armor, man, spoken of in Ephesians 6, right? But these are their conversations, man, in their homes, while our lives hang in doubt, while Haggai 1:6 says how we fill a bag with holes. This is how they living it up in this society, all right, which shows that this is not our rest and that we have to cling on to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai more than ever, all right, pertaining to, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, all right, the Israelites.
What do you mean by this skirt?
What is this?
That's a skirt.
You bought this from Ralph Lauren? How much did you pay for this?
I got it at a discount price.
Wait, where
Was it on sale or something? It looks like it would be on sale.
Is it a dress on?
I don't think anybody would really want to buy this. I couldn't see Ralph Lauren helping his daughter clean her closet, so you better appreciate this.
I appreciate it more than you even will ever know. See what I mean by this skirt, Dad?
Made it. Ralph Lauren? This Ralph Lauren thing is like, I'm glad I don't know the price of this, because I'd probably get a little annoyed. But there is a lot of fabric. Anyway,
You got a lot for your money.
I can't believe I gave him my money.
Well,
It's a lot of fabric. It's even the way they look at things, like from their perspective, everything is in measure, but it's the wickedness, all right, on the left-hand side, all right, how we would think, like that in measure, it would be to, consolidate or to preserve, they think as far as just financial gain. Again, their God is gold, oil, and dollars.
need it, so it's okay.
He has to buy another McLaren or another Ferrari. What is this?
What do you mean by this?
All right, so again, they send gifts to one another, and this is the same thing they was doing back in chattel slavery with postcards, right? Sending actual humans to one another, all right? One of the first scriptures I want to get is the book of Revelations, chapter 11. And it goes into the two witnesses. But I want to get to a point and start at verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the streets of the great city, right? Which spiritually is called Sodom in Egypt, right? And that's where we're here today. This is spiritually Sodom in Egypt. They push those same notions. All right, these are all the past captivities bottled up in one, which make it the strongest captivity that ever existed, man, pertaining to its wickedness. Pertaining to its wickedness, all right? And the things that just exist here and that just get pushed here, the philosophies, right? The women, where our Lord Yahweh Shai was crucified, right? This is the same people who are in rulership crucified our Lord and Savior, man. They're the Greeks, they're the Romans. They're patriotic today, right? This is verse 9. And they of the people and kindreds of tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, right? A course of 350 years, all right, to where we were without the truth, all right, from the time of this place existence of around to say 1619 all the way to 1619 to 350 years to give you 1969, right? 1969 to 1970s, where you had Esau have to make what COINTELPRO, because the Lord put spirit on Jake to have these sects, what they call militias, so to speak, like Black Panther Party and so on and so forth, which was all carnal and all vanity, all right? But again, the Lord throws glitches in the matrix, all right? Ultimately to fulfill his will. And at that same time, you had what? The commandment keepers by way of Abba Bivens, John the Baptist in the flesh, all right? Turning our hearts to the Father. Turning our hearts back to the Father, man. Our minds back to the Father with the truth, through his testimony, through his spirit, through his walk, his faith, which what leads to the influx of believers to what we have today. All right, the men on the highways and byways, all right, the men of great millstone in the camps like ourselves of the like mind, and those men, women, and children that believe, all right. So here in Revelations 11 and 9, from the top again, and they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, right? 350 years over here, you know, Adolf Hitler was one of the individuals that even stated they have the Lord's precious jewels. So the world knew, all right, especially through the different slave trades, the transatlantic, the sub-Saharan, you know, they knew who you were according to the scriptures, all right? But they keep you bound, to keep this place afloat, is to not let that cat out the bag, all right? Not let that secret out. You know, that's Hosea chapter 4, you know, verse 1, all right? It's a controversy and a conspiracy, all right, through the whole earth. And we'll come back to Revelations 11. It's Hosea chapter 4 and verse 1. Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel, for the Lord have a controversy, right, with the inhabitants of the land, right? Because there is no truth, no mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land, right? Y'all all lying. Everybody who in rulership know that the children of Israel, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right, are here in the land of the north majority and been spread throughout the four corners of the earth. All right, through history, through your circular history, through the relics, which is the relics represent the physical proof that line up the history, like the Hezekiah tunnels, right? The Las Lunas stones, so on and so forth, right? You know, these things are proof that the Lord allowed to be in place and not be moved, to show his will, to show his power, to show that he still exists, that he is, right? That's ultimately amount to his name, Yahweh, right? He exists, he is. And his son name being Yahweh Shai, meaning he delivers, right? So we have the truth, you know, but these people still, hey, they send gifts to one another, being the point. So this is back at Revelations chapter 11 and verse 9. And it says, and the people of the kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, right? 350 years, and should not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves, right? So that's why you still have the valley of the dry bones spoken of in Ezekiel 37, all right? The dead bodies that lie in the graves, man. But we have been risen from the grave, resurrected through the spirit of truth, as Yahweh Shai was resurrected, man. All right? Through the spirit, which ultimately led to him being resurrected in the physical, all right? But us, we're being resurrected through the spirit, which ultimately going to lead us to be resurrected and changed, right? When the Lord returns, all right? In the twinkling of an eye, You know, that spirit that's going to be brought forth, all right, up out of this flesh. This is verse 10. It's a point. And they that dwell upon them, Salakia, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them, right? And that's what they do. That's how they be able to make big money. You're the number one consumer throughout the four corners of the earth, all right? Even to where they trying to change the global system, all right, and have a new financier power on the earth, all right, by way of China, you know, in their new world order. Speaking of the elites, right, these globalists who really done with America, I mean, really done with Babylon the Great, Salaki. They're still hoping that you're gonna be the consumer in their new world order, to where they're gonna issue and mandate the RFID CHIP in your because why? The financier, the economical power is not gonna be, you know, domestic, so to speak. It's gonna be a foreign nation. Ultimately, like when you think of it from the, you know, aspect of what's going on, the regime changes, and how they're trying to set up their new world order. But again, the Lord said he's gonna make it vomit it back up. Man. It ain't go out into fruition how they think it is. They're not gonna be able to establish it and reign in it how they think they are, right? Because the Lord's gonna bring it to an end. All right, so them rejoicing over and making big money and, you know, off of the Lord's people, the apple of his eye, because that's ultimately what the conspiracy is about. That's why you have a people over there posing to be the Lord's people, and they're not, because all taxes are supposed to go to the Lord's people, i.e. via the last lesson, going into the embargoes, and how our gates go continually be open, right? You know, which shows that they're not the people, man. It's not complete. Their gates not continually open. They're still fighting over land masses and making blockades, right? Again, having embargoes, still at war. Well, when the kingdom is established, the world shall war no more. All right, so this Revelations 11 and 10, just to continue on in the point. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry and shall send gifts one to another. Right, they send gifts one to another. Oh, this is Ralph Lauren and because that's his friend. Oh, you might want to just buy another McLaren. But then he's taking a side shot at him as if he's not a good parent, as him. You know, it's like they're Edomites, they're Esau. They're horrible people. I'm sorry. They're horrible people. They're distasteful. Even amongst themselves, man. Because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth, man, right? Representing the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. You know, brothers used to break it down and say like Ezekiel, but it's the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom where the Lord is gathering us here in the land of the north to put that more of that condemnation on this devil, man. It's a melting pot for the Lord's people, you know, and he's been getting over. And this verse 11, and after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from Yahweh entered into them, right? Some of them. And they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them, right? So they know. That's why we shadow ban on the web, on the internet, all right, on the domain that they ultimately set up. You know, we shadow ban. It's not large views only on the fake Hebrew Israelite sellout camps that sold out. They get the large views ultimately to steer their narrative, because when it come down to the nitty gritty, they go be the hireling, man. They're gonna leave the flock when things get tight. All right. So what? We stand up boldly, as Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5 say, against the face of those who afflicted us, man. So they see that, and that's that condemnation in them. That's why we shadow ban on the internet. They conspiring right now to see how they go rally us up, allegedly. And that being said, I'll just go to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5 and verse 1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors, right? When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, right? It's going to be embedded in their subconscious from that point on, man. And shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they look for, man, all the way until the Lord return, and he saves those of the like mind of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, who's hastening a new heaven and desiring a new heaven and a new earth, which dwelleth righteousness, man. You know, who took the spoiling of their goods cheerfully. And they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision, and a proverb of reproach. We fools accounted his life madness, and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered among the children of God? Right. How is he numbered among the children of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah? How is he among the election? And his lot is among the saints, man. Right. You know, where judgment go be coming, salvation go be coming too. All right. But it's only a seldom few that will go obtain that salvation, man. There's going to be 144,000 men, 12,000 men from each tribe, and 1/3 men, women, and children that are written in the scriptures, you know, to believe, all right, to be saved from the sad perils. All right. Not to go too long-winded and just stay on the point. This is Psalms 17. And I get the point in verse 13. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. God. For men, right, this is the Lord's sword. This is the Lord whipping stick. You're supposed to be wicked. That's according to Psalms 50 and 16. What is thou to do to declare my statutes? That was a rhetorical question that the Lord was asking pertaining to Esau, Edom, the wicked. Right? Even 2/3 of our people who are set up and wired to loathe the law, all the way until their destruction, because the Lord don't want to save them. You know, what is thou to do to declare my statutes, man? You can't do nothing to keep the Lord's statutes. You're not wired and structured to do so. It's not in your la'av. It's not, you know, that silver cord is loose. You either chose your spiritual allegiance now in these times, but usually if you did that in these times, you've done that in the ancient times, man. All right. Everybody has a lot, a spiritual lot. This is verse 14. For men which are thy hand, O Lord, from men of the world which have their portion in this life, right? They have their portion in this life. Even 2/3 of our people, they receive their consolation. They get the Happy Meal, the little toy out of the Happy Meal for being accomplice of wickedness, pertaining to John 8 and 44. They're of their father the devil, so the lust of their father they ultimately do. Roughly paraphrasing. You say, which have their portion in this life, which leads up to what Ecclesiastes, where it says, the righteous is not for our turn. You know, it's a whole chapter going into it. It says, which have their portion in this life, and whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasure. They are full of children, and leave the rest of their substance to their babes. Right. That lines up with Psalms 49 and 11. You know, their inward thought is that their houses go continue forever. You know, they go live substance to their babes, which you're supposed to have equity. All right. But understanding that this is not our rest. All right. They leave substance to their babes pertaining to the wicked, Esau, Edom. All right. And 2/3 of our people in vain. All right. Because all this is getting ready to come to naught. So the only substance that you want to kind of create equity in is the truth, is the spirit of truth, the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, man. The true money, the true jewels, the true woman, Sophia, right? Verse 15, as for me, I will behold thy face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awake with thy likeness. Right, he gonna be as he is. You know, he gonna be satisfied. He gonna be complete in that day. when he awake in thy likeness, man. And we waiting on Yahweh Shai to return so we can be as he is, man. He can see, we can be that spitting image, Lord's will, through the spirit. And ultimately it'll lead to it's going to lead to a physical change. This is Ezekiel 37 in verse... I started verse 15 just to get the point on how these two witnesses, all right, that's ultimately what it represents in the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, how we here, declaring the downfall of a sinful kingdom on its soil, man, as ancient times before. And it says here in Ezekiel 37 and 15, the word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah, right, which Judah represents the tribe who there's no concerning priesthood, but now we're all kings and priests. You had the Levitical priesthood, which would be the so-called Haitians today. They held the priesthood like Moses, Aaron, all right, but through the order of Melchizedek, we all kings and priests, all right. Again, Yahweh Shai is from the tribe of Judah, which no concerning priesthood, but he's the top priest through the spirit, all right, as he's been exalted and put on the right-hand side of the Father as being crucified and hung on the tree, as the scriptures say, for righteousness' sake, to make intercessions for our people, all right? So that's why it's important to know who Yahweh Shai is, to know the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. We have a depiction of what he may look like, right? And that's important too, because we've been given a lie, all right, pertaining to the iconoclasm, the Renaissance God that they pushed and portrayed, all right, through hundreds and thousands of years, to where now they're trying to hide it and backtrack it. The Lord don't have color, things of that nature, because the truth is out. Again, they're in terrible fear when they see it. The prophets putting that, the spirit of the prophets is subject to the prophets, having that spirit upon them to hit the highways and byways now we here in 2026 AD. All right. But again, going from the 350 years from 1969, 1970, all the way up to now, the seal's been loose. The book has been open. Right. The portion of the book that was closed, it was open. It goes into Daniel. All right. All stemming from the crucifixion, the touching of the Lord's apple of the Lord's eye, the touching of Yahweh Shai. But it's here in verse 16, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions, right? Israel representing the northern kingdom, right? The house of Joseph. The leader of that kingdom would be Ephraim, the so-called Taino Indians, rich port, what they would call Puerto Ricans. The Lord called them the tribe of Ephraim, right? That's the leader of the northern kingdom, where Judah is the leader of the southern kingdom pertaining to Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, all right? Judah representing the so-called Negroes here in the land of the north, Levi representing the so-called Haitians, and Benjamin representing those of the Caribbean islands and West Indies, right? Which you never really could kind of depict which one you kind of from. You can almost be sure. But the Lord's go identify and do the reaping and separating the sheep from the goat, so on and so forth, man. He go put it in a full perspective. All right. We're categorizing it through the spirit of truth right now. Correctly though. All right. It's gonna measure up. All right. That's it's all go measure up, man. When the Lord's return, not only we go be as he is, everything go be complete. We not go prophesy in part and know in part. This is it's still in verse 16, and it says, then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, right, northern kingdom, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the houses of Israel, his companions. Enjoy them one to another into one stick, right? And that's why when you out there on the highways and byways, you have to have that stick, that chart, depicting the tribes, the 12 tribes, and putting them in perspective. You should have that template. If not, you're scattering. And for all the house of Israel his companions, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thy hand. And when the children of thy people, right, thy people, possessive, shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will make the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, right, the leader of the northern kingdom, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, right, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thy hand before their eyes. Man, you're supposed to have this. It's like a badge. You gotta have your latitude, so to speak. You gotta have your license and registrations to do this work. Verse 21, and say unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. Right? We ain't go go over there like like 2/3 of our people. Well, not saying 2/3 of our people, but like the Jakes over there that ran over there to Dimona. Now they're part of nuclear warfare. Not only that, the area that they went to Dimona and tried to declare over there and, get land themselves, they was using that area for, test siting to test the ICBM missiles and things of that nature. So now they're in complete war. So you just imagine what, Jake that went over there back in the day, what they going through, what their children and generations after them are going through right now, being citizens over there. Wonder if some of them came back, if they had dual citizenship and stuff like that, and ended up coming back. How solidified was their faith. All right, but again, the Lord didn't tell us to go over there. The Lord states right here that he's going to put us in our own land. He go gather us from every side and put us in our own land. All right. So it debunks what they did carnally, from a carnal perspective, and the 40 fakers. All right. The small hats. It debunks what they did too. This Psalms 49 and verse 11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They called their lands after their own names, right? The Lord had his Pangea, and here come Esau naming what he want to name. It was his. He's still trying to take land masses today. Look what he's doing over there in the Middle East, to where they got to put blockades and pretty much usher in the third war. Because he has to be stopped. The Lord has to stop him, or there will no flesh be saved. Roughly paraphrasing. This is the book of Deuteronomy. Let's get the law. Chapter 28 and 48. Because the Lord told us that we're going to have to go to the one of the heathen for all things. And the point of this lesson was from Tommy Hilfiger, a known proud boy who have a disdain for Jake, as he mentioned it. He didn't even want Jake to wear his clothes, but Jake was what made him rich. Deuteronomy 28 and 48, therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and the want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. And that's what he did. He's destroyed our people mentally, to where he ain't have to keep them in chains and hardcore bondage like he used to. He beat them down mentally, all right, spiritually, like through witchcraft. His spiritualness is witchcraft. On the left hand side is wickedness. Ultimately to put our people in a deep state of wickedness from the mind. Giving them jobs, the emancipation, approximation, things like that, to where they don't even think they're in slavery no more. A slave who think they free. That's what you got a world of now. So, verse 9, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, right? And that's what he represent, the eagle. That's what he carried from the Greeks, the Greek Empire with Alexander, to Greco-Roman Empire with the Caesars, the Common Era, all the way up to now. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, right? We speak in English. That's a perverse tongue. Latin too, right? That's why it's the hardest language to learn. and when you understand other languages and start to learn other languages, Hebrew, even Spanish, even Latin, is a lot of languages are direct and straight to the point. There's no filler. But English is just straight elongated words and sentences, and like you can get to the point faster. That's why when you hear somebody that's foreign speak English, they might cut some words. They might sound on the spectrum when they speak, but they really just getting to the point. They covering the words that really don't even be needed to speak. They make their points quicker, being the point with, they dialect. And next time you speak to somebody with a different dialect, and you just keep that in mind and have an understanding, you'll see like, okay, yeah, the word is shorter, but it means a whole sentence. Because it's to the point. This guy, he creates new speech, all right? He's the father of lies and loopholes. It's Deuteronomy 28 and I think it's 68 is the point when he says, Salaki. Yes, 48. Thou shalt serve the enemies with the Lord shall sin against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, right? Even your clothes. The dude, Kanye, was a good example of that. How that's a guy who made it all the way to the top when it comes to the fashion industry. He had a friend named Virgil Abigail with the off-white and all that stuff too, who he put as a pawn, from my perspective, to deal with these corporations, Louis Vuitton, one being exact. And he was unalived, allegedly, or he passed of cancer, illness, allegedly. But now you see the things that are after the fact of, him coming out, kind of saying we the Israelites of the Bible. They took everything from him as far as the corporation Adidas, and now you see things that are being created that look similar to the things that he put into perspective in that industry, in that world, so to speak, as there's many worlds. Right? That's why you want to be of the world, right? The John 3:16, the world, the cosmos, the particular arrangement, meaning not the whole world, meaning, in oikumene sense, but you want to be in a particular arrangement of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai in the spirit of truth and the spiritual arc. All right. That's what John 3:16 represents. But he goes send what? The enemies against us in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and the want of all things, and he shall put a yoke upon our iron and upon our neck until he have destroyed thee, That's the point I wanted to get in there. You know, the and the one of all things. But soon all this go be turned on to him. You know, we see what's going on with the global trade, how he trying to set up his NWO, his fourth industrial revolution, and this ultimately go bite him in his ASS, because when the Lord established his kingdom, you go pay your taxes to us. This is Deuteronomy 30:7. And the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuteth thee. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, and do all his commandments, which I command thee this day. Right. So we gonna be perfect in that day. All right. This is the book of 2 Peter. I'm starting to wrap it up. I got like 3 more. The 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 1. But there were false prophets also among the people, right? Like Sakari, IUIC, they take the bag and sell out, you know. Even as there shall be false teachers among you who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that brought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction, right? And many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of, right? You know, blaspheming the truth. Or they bum camps like the IUIC and these different Hebrew Israelite sectors. Majority of them are off, wicked. They took the bag. They don't deal righteously. They're not brotherly. All right, and that's ultimately something they learned from Esau. All right, they're still in that Edomite mindset, that Edomite worldly niggard mindset, because niggard just ultimately, you know, mean wanting things all to yourselves, and that's what he does. He won't leave not one gleaning grape. You know, he's full of niggardness, so he's the true niggard according to the scriptures. You know, verse 3, and through covetousness shall they with fringe word make merchandise of you, right? Through covetousness. And who they get that from? They learn it from Esau, you know? That's why, like, when people be talking business and shit, like, I know business. I'm a very intelligent person. It's like, I don't want to hear it for real, because I came out of the world. I don't care about business and your affairs. I don't care about that shit. Yeah, you got to make money. You got to make your daily bread. But it's like, that's why the only people I accept that from, business and stuff like that, is the brothers in the brotherhood. That's the only people I'm willing to talk business and stuff with. But like, you take these niggas like what's that nigga name, man? Who did fraud, by the way. Bandman, Kivo, and all these dudes. They be talking like they multi-millionaires and stuff with these fake chains on and talking business like they doing this, that, and the third. And these are wicked men. And you have those men within the truth, like IUIC, Bishop Nathaniel. Their whole structure is of that. You know, giving into marriage. It's about business. It's about networking. All right. They trying to build and establish a kingdom on Esau's soil, while the Lord is trying to uproot it, because this place and this system has to completely be abolished. We ain't having 501c3 charters in the kingdom. So it says 2 Peter 2 and 3, and through covetousness shall they with fringe words make merchandise of you, right? Let me get that. Fiend words, not fringe, but fiend words.
Strong's G 4112 plastos.
Plastos. Like molded, formed as from clay, wax, or stone. Right, filler. With fringe words, with gibberish. Look how construction is today with stucco. That shit'll fly right off, man. The Lord will slap stucco off a building. You know, shit like that, dude. It's like basically styrofoam versus brick and mortar. Like, but with filler, with BS, you know what I'm saying? With things, with finned words, they make merchandise of the people, man. Soothsayings. The gift of gab, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not, as Esau, right? This is the book of Sirach, chapter 29, and I got one more. And Lord willing, it was edifying. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 29, and verse 10. Lose thy money for thy brother and thy friend, and let it not rust under a stone to be lost. You see, that's what they doing. In wickedness, though. And they got all the money. Lay up thy treasure according to the commandments of the Most High, and it shall bring thee more profit than gold. Shut up alms in thy storehouses, and it shall deliver thee from all affliction, man. And that's spiritual alms. Spiritual, spiritual. Yeah, and lay up treasure spiritually. What your spiritual bank account look like? That charity. What your charity meter look like? That's gonna cover the multitude of sins. And this going back to the law, I'm gonna go end off with the book of Deuteronomy. (22) and verse 1. It says sundry laws. Thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide thyself from them. Look at Esau. Esau doing it in wickedness. So he can buy a McLaren and shit. He can double down on his wickednesses. His oppression. He can stay being oppressor. They gonna help each other out to stay on top. We gotta help each other out to stay in the truth, to keep level-minded, at peace, And that's only if a brother want it. He go receive that, with the like-minded brothers, with the sincere brothers. But just imagine what's going on in like IUIC and camps like that. Look at Sakari, they fell off quick. And they was building a structure just as so. So just as they fell quick, that mean IUIC go fall quicker. They go fall quicker. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be like not the house of David, but like Comfy them people, man. ICJC, whatever that was, it gonna be like them. They like never heard of. You ain't gonna know who was a part of IUIC and who not, because they gonna be trying to join the camps. Just joking, man. Allegedly. But it's Deuteronomy 22 verse 1. Thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide thyself from them. Thou shalt in any case bring them again unto thy border. Unto thy brother. And if thy brother be not nigh unto thee, or if thou know him not, right, even if you don't know him, then thou shalt bring it unto thine own house, and it shall be with thee until thy brother seek after it, right? And thou shalt restore it to him again. And in like manner shalt thou do with his ass, right? So you go restore it to him again. Even if he can't, if he out somewhere sojourning looking for it and you don't know where he at, whenever he come by, he looking for it, you got it already put up for him. It been fed the times of the day that it usually be fed and everything. You go feed it, you go treat it as yours until he come and get it. Jake do that shit in wickedness only, when my such and such come out of jail or prison, I'm gonna have something for him and We do that in righteousness with the spirit of truth, with our charity, with our works. All right, Esau, he like to send gifts to one another, man. So we got to do the same by doing our letters, our epistles, right? Our lessons. Shalom, Habadan, DTA to the next one.